Hi guys, I'm David. I'm going to talk to you about customer usage classification. And this is an exercise I did a few years ago when I worked in the parking industry. Now, parking is not a very sexy industry to work in, but it does generate a lot of data. One of the challenges, though, is that most of the data is very anonymous. You don't know who your customers are, and you don't even know why they're coming to use your car park. Sure, they might be coming along to go to work. They might be going to the cinema, but they don't tell you that when you come in. But if you want to grow your revenues, get repeat business and new customers, it would make sense to understand what your customers are actually using your facility for. So I tried to find a way of interrogating the transactional data that we have in order to try and reveal some of these customer behaviors. So I took a load of data, dumped it on screen, dumped it into Tableau, and this is what we got. This is really just a scatter plot of entry time down the y-axis, exit time across the top. I don't care whether you've parked 2 hours, 2 days, 2 weeks. We're just looking at the time of day that you come in and go out. Every dot on here is a parking transaction, and where they're red, there's lots of transactions happening at the same time. The big diagonal line down the middle is obviously where entry time is equal to exit time. So most people are just over that, short transactions. The first spot that attracted my attention the first time I looked at this was this big red spot here. So we can see these folks are coming in. This is about 8 o'clock in the morning. They're staying till 5 p.m. or so in the afternoon. These folks are working 9 to 5. What a way to make a living. Moving on, we've got a big red splodge in the middle. They're coming in throughout the course of the day and leaving throughout the course of the working day. They only stay 1 or 2 hours. And if you look at the locations where this happens, you can see these folks love to shop. Down in the bottom right, we've got some typical evening trades, so people entering sort of 7 p.m., sticking around till 10, 11, midnight. They're probably going to restaurants, going to the cinema, or maybe even the opera. Under the diagonal line, we've got people whose exit time is earlier in the day than their entry time. These are not time travelers. I don't have a Back to the Future slide coming up. These are people who stayed overnight. Okay? And I think there's actually 2 groups here. The first one that I've highlighted, they're coming in at the end of the working day. But if you look at the time that they leave the next morning, 7, 8 a.m., they're back on the road to take away coffee for breakfast. These are hardworking business people. They've got deals to do. The other group below the line, if you look at the time that they come in, they're coming in throughout the course of the afternoon, and they stick around the next morning till 10, 11 o'clock. Breakfast for them is probably a coffee and a croissant and a full English. These look like leisure travelers to me. So that was a composite site I was showing you just now. If we look at some individual sites very quickly, this is a city centre shoppers car park. You see there's not much evening trade, not much commuters, but lots of people in that shopping bubble. This is a railway station, so you can see lots of people on those very short transactions where they pick up and drop off, and some commuters as well, spending the whole day wherever the train goes. We have an arena car park here, and so you can see down in the bottom right, lots of activity for pick up and drop off, and the kind of vertical strata are everyone's leaving the event at the exact same time. Because this is an event car park, it's used primarily in the evening. We've stuck some commuters in there during the day, so we can see quite a few of the 9 to 5 mob there. So we've identified 5 customer groups. So what can you actually do with it? We can identify obvious gaps. So we saw the city centre car park. I happen to know that car park was never more than half full. So why don't we stick some commuters in there? We can sell them season tickets, make some extra money that way. We can measure relative income from different groups. So with Tableau, you can obviously highlight a certain section of your scatter chart, throw the price measure on there as well, and you can instantly see what proportion of your revenue comes from a particular customer set. This is important to balance out because your commuters take up your car park all day long, and maybe you'd be better getting 2 shoppers than 1 commuter. We can use it for revenue protection. So when I filter this for transactions that cost zero, where the customer paid zero, I found a car park in Manchester where someone had misconfigured the tariffs, and lots of people were getting a couple of hours free parking. It was costing us £1,000 a day. You can use it to optimize tariffs. So those business travelers that we saw, they're probably traveling on expenses. Business travelers aren't very price sensitive. You can probably push the tariff up a little bit, and no one's too bothered about that. Business travel is all tax deductible, so it's not a problem. And you can also build commercial partnerships with local businesses. So, someone sitting in HQ in London can take a look at one of these profiles for a car park in a city that they may have never visited, and they can see that there's potential to do commercial deals with restaurants, theaters, hotels, and we can then sell a car park pre-booking effectively. So the customer makes a single purchase, which includes parking bundled with their hotel ticket, and it means we've captured them at that point. And also we know what they're actually doing. So we know that they're going to the theatre or whatever. So suddenly we've gone from not really understanding who our customers are or what they're doing in our car parks to having individual actionable insights for each of our car parks. It's built on data that the machines have been spitting out for 15 years, but we just weren't harnessing because we hadn't used Tableau yet. That's it. Thank you.